All right, here we go. Again, thank you all for coming here this evening. Really do appreciate it. A couple of you have had some tours through the building, so I thank you for doing that and being here. And before we get started here, I just want to do housekeeping real quick. Bathrooms are right down the hallway if you have such a need. And again, we do have snacks and water over here. Please help yourself. It's like home. You have to go get it. It's not going to come to you. Also want to send out a quick thank you here to Mr. Mannion for opening up the building here at the middle school. And as I understand, Mr. Booth also had the elementary school open. So following the meeting, if you would like to see the elementary school, if you haven't seen it before, doors are opened and we can make that happen for you. I want to thank Mr. Chad Nash and his Builders Club kids who took some of you around today, and appreciate them very much. They do a lot of work around the school, around the city, actually. Also, I want to say thank you to Dove Audiovisual. We are videotaping this event tonight, so just so you are aware. And thank him for his work and support here. Also, when this is all said and done, this event will be put on the website for Citizens for Tallmadge, Citizens for Tallmadge Schools Facebook page, and it will also be on the YesTallmadgeSchools.org website if you'd like to go back and see it. Won't be there for a couple days because it takes a while to take all the information and cut it and piece it together, but it will be there eventually. Moving forward real quick here, I want to review the agenda. It's pretty short, pretty simple and pretty easy tonight. What we want to do is go into a kind of a question and answer concept. We want this to be point blank and raw and very authentic. And to please ask whatever it is you want to ask, whatever you feel is important regarding Tallmadge City Schools and the upcoming levy. And that's the reason why we call this the Levy Spotlight Forum tonight. So that's what it's all about. The way it will work is once we get through a couple of the opening statements here, all I need you to do is simply raise your hand, stand up where you are, state your name, take a deep breath, and just ask whatever's on your mind. And we'll figure out how to get you the proper answer. But before we jump into that, I think just so we're all on the same page, we need to start with kind of a baseline of what it is we are doing and ask the question, why are we here? And I can't think of a better person to kind of get this really started and kicked off than Mr. Steve Wood, who is the Superintendent of Schools. And I would invite you to come on up and tell us a little bit about why we have a levy upcoming in November.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Fairhurst. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. So I think what I wanted to share with everyone tonight is why school districts have to ask for new levies. School districts like Tallmadge have to ask for new levies. I think it's very important for everybody to understand why it happens, and then to understand the cycle that causes the when to happen. So the why and the when, of course, is now. And I want to talk about some of the things we're doing as a district already to control taxpayer costs. Sound good? All right, so first of all, everything we do, so I got my clicker, excuse me, I hope I can drive this. Yeah, so why? If everybody in Tallmadge understood the why, we'd be so much better as a community. And the why really comes down to tax revenue stays flat even as home values rise. I think there's a common belief that people see their home value crank up. They think that the tax revenue increases as directly as a result of that, giving the schools plenty of money to spend. And that's just absolutely not the case. School districts, simply put, need to ask for money just to maintain the programs they have, just to keep up with inflation. Our tax revenues do not keep up with inflation on their own. Does that make sense to everyone? That's the crux of everything we're going to talk about tonight. That's the base. If you understand that, the facts that tax revenues don't keep up with inflation. Therefore, districts once in a while need to ask for new funds. So last time Tallmadge asked for new funds was back in 2019. So here we are today. So the when do districts like Tallmadge have to ask for new funds? And it really comes down to a number of things. Eventually, inflation catches up to us. We all know we're in a very high rate environment right now in terms of inflation. So that's a factor in what's happening right now. Tallmadge's enrollment is up slightly over the last 5 years, but in general, our enrollment is flat. If our enrollment was going down, that would be a reason we may not need additional funds. But our enrollment is going slightly up to flat. So we're right around 2,500 students right now, which is, we bottomed out at around 2,300 students about 6 or 7 years ago. And then about 10 to 15 years ago, we were at 2,500 students. So we saw a little bit of a dip, and now we've grown back to around 2,500 students. But in general, our enrollment is flat. So that's not really driving the need for this new levy. Enrollment is not driving the need for this new levy. This levy is needed because of inflation. And then the last point here, state funding. You've probably watched a lot of that and heard a lot about that from the state. And it is a reduction in funds that is coming into Tallmadge to help support our district. Historically, we've received about 40% of our total revenue from the state of Ohio. That number is dipping fast. It'll fall down to below 30 by the year 2027. Why is our state funding falling? Really two reasons. Just in general, the state is funding schools less. And secondly, we're kind of a victim of our own success a little bit. In general, the values of our homes have gone up. The wealth in our community has gone up. So Tallmadge is seen less and less from, by the state of Ohio as a community that needs additional state resources. So we kind of got the two things happening there. So again, I think if everybody in Tallmadge understood why once in a while we have to ask for new money, they'd understand the need to keep asking for it every 5 or 6 years just to maintain the programs that we have. We are not asking for extra programs. We're not asking for to do additional building projects. We're just here to maintain the great programs that we have. So let's talk about some of the things we've done already. I'll jump to this. So number one, I think the one thing the community should hold the board and myself accountable for is our spending. We already spend, and this graph up here, hope you can see it, is our spending per pupil. These numbers are from the state of Ohio. Anybody can look up any district on what each district is spending per pupil. Tallmadge is the yellow bar. Red is the state average. We are below state average. You can see all the districts to the right are districts that spend quite a bit more per pupil. Their spending per pupil is more than ours. That includes Kent, Hudson, just most of the Summit County school districts spend more per pupil than Tallmadge does. So we're very proud of our spending record in Tallmadge. We've also put in cost-saving measures over the last year to help us get us through this tough financial time. And that includes some reduction in staffing, 3 administrative positions, a number of teaching positions that were phased out as a result of retirements. So we have reduced our spending to try to get us through this difficult time. I think it is important to know if we don't receive additional funds by 2027, we're not like the federal government. We can't just print more money, take on additional deficit. We cannot run in the red. So if we start running out of money, we need to make substantial cuts to our programs. That's something I know we already are a very efficient district. Significant cuts to our programs would be unhealthy for the students of Tallmadge. The other things that we've done, I've heard about the baseball field. We've raised over $200,000 of private funds to pay for the baseball field. We've raised over close to $200,000 to do a weight room upgrade. Our philanthropy levels in Tallmadge have never been higher than they are now. We've been a very generous community, and it's something we've really emphasized to help us keep costs, keep the taxpayer money in the classroom instead of on other things. So lastly, I just want to point out to the fact that it's a 5.7 mil levy. The new money levy is. Traditionally, Tallmadge asks for about 7.5 up to 9 mils for a levy. This time around, the board has really sharpened their pencil, looked like what do we really need to get us through the next 5 years. And they came to this lower number as less of an impact on our taxpayers. As an example, and it kind of gives you a sense, there are two levies on the ballot. There's a renewal and the new money levy. So the new money levy is at 5.7. The renewal was originally a 7.5 mil levy. That is now collecting at just 4.3. That's an example of the fact that as taxes, as values go up, tax rates go down. And that's why we really don't receive additional income from existing levies. So again, we're proud of our record, keeping costs low. We know that being frugal is important to our community. We're very proud of our spending per pupil. We're very proud of our ability to make great things and have this district be a great district while still being an efficient user of taxpayer funds. And believe me, none of us like to ask for new taxes. If we didn't have to, we wouldn't. We know people hate taxes. The United States was founded on the fact that people hate taxes. But believe us, when I know this board and this folks and this administration, we are asking for what we think makes the most sense to get us through the next couple of years. So thank you for listening, and Soumya is next.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Of the things that he talked about here, this is one of my more favorite slides because of the cost per pupil, truly is lower than our neighbors, many of our neighbors, which always leads me to say, pound for pound, we are one of the best schools in the state of Ohio, bar none. And to kind of prove that to you, kind of show that to you, we have a young lady here this evening, Soumya, come on up. And she would like to tell you a little bit about what it's like to be a student here in Tallmadge. So come on up. Hold this, hold it close, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Soumya, and I'm in 7th grade. Firstly, I'd like to give a big thank you to Mr. Wood for inviting me to share my perspective on our schools as a student. So let's give a round of applause to him. From my time here, it's clear that our teachers and staff genuinely care about us, not just in our studies, but as individuals. They go above and beyond to help us succeed, whether it's offering extra help during school hours or being there to answer questions outside of class. Their dedication truly shines through. They create a warm and welcoming environment that encourages participation, making learning feel fun and interactive, which keeps us engaged. What impresses me the most is how attentive the staff is to each student's unique needs. If someone is having a tough time, whether academically or emotionally, there is always someone ready to lend a hand. We are fortunate enough to have access to numerous resources, including counseling services, which makes it easy to get help whenever we need it. This level of support creates a wonderful sense of community that accepts anyone and everyone within the district. In closing, I want to express my gratitude for being part of such a caring community that truly prioritizes our well-being and growth as students. Thank you all for coming and attending.
Thank you so much for that. Very appreciated. She's just one example of 2,500 of the kids that are in our community that we are so proud of. What helps keep our schools here and strong are not only the families and the parents, but also the businesses in our community. And every once in a while, we get a new business who takes a look at Tallmadge and they decide to start their business here. And we've brought one of those people in tonight, Daphne Smathers. If you could come on up and tell us, why did you choose Tallmadge over all of the other places you could have gone to in Northeast Ohio?
Thank you. So, thank you. My name is Daphne Smathers. Thank you for having me today. And, I just want to talk about basically my history with Tallmadge City Schools, growing up here, and why I started my business here with my husband. So, when I started coming to Tallmadge City Schools, I was actually around 9, 10 years old. I started here in the 5th grade, and I actually came from Akron Public Schools. So in Akron Public Schools, I was actually, pretty far ahead. But when I came to Tallmadge, I was actually behind. So if that gives you any indication of the level of education that you get at Tallmadge City Schools, I was actually quite behind coming here, but I was able to catch up and have a pleasant middle school, high school experience. But in high school, as all kids do, I went through a tough time. But luckily, I had the help of my friends and also my teachers at Tallmadge High School during this time. So I had a teacher. Her name was Miss Pazevsky. She was the Spanish teacher at Tallmadge High School. And she really pushed me during that time and said, I know you're stressed out about, because I was trying to get really good grades and do all these things. You should just be the best that you can be. So I kind of carried that on into my business. This is my shameless plug. It's Best Hall Junk Removal. So I took that quite literally, and I just try to do the best that I can with my business and give back to my community. She also gave me a fridge magnet, and I still have it to this day, and it said, "You make the world a better place just by being in it." So that's kind of the level of care that you get at Tallmadge City Schools, and I just want to thank you guys for having me.
Thank you. We're so glad you're here. Thank you so much. So interestingly, that's a new business. Just starting out, plans to be here for a long, long time. And we wanted to take a look at the other side of the world and talk about a business who has been here for a long, long time. And we have with us tonight Mr. Bob Maguire. Come on up. And interestingly enough, I believe you're celebrating 50 years in our town. So congratulations for that. And again, the question is, why, of all the places you could have started a business, why did you choose Tallmadge? And my gosh, why have you stayed? What has caused you to stay here?
Wow, those are two different questions. I was raised in West Akron. Decided I wanted to get away to college, so I moved to California and lived with relatives. And graduated from college in 1970. Thought I'd stay out there the rest of my life. It wasn't 6 months later. I had a good job, but I'm on one of those freeways, and I thought, this is a parking lot, not a road. So I had married, and we decided to move to Ohio. My wife was from Beverly Hills, and so this was a new area for her. And we get here and rented an apartment in West Akron where I'd grown up for a while and decided it's time to buy a house. And she says, well, your Aunt Margaret lives out there in Tallmadge, Ohio. And I knew about Tallmadge Circle, and I thought, well, hell, I can do that traffic standing on my head after the 405 freeway in Los Angeles. So we bought a house on Van Ever Road, and I started law school. And when I graduated from law school, I thought, well, instead of working for a company, the prosecutor wanted to hire me, but I thought, well, I want to start my own law firm. And where should I go? And I knew the area very well because I was a law book salesman during law school, and traveled from the Pennsylvania border, the whole Western Reserve. I went clear out to Sandusky, and so I really knew the area better than anybody in the area to this day, probably. And I thought, well, Tallmadge is a pretty darn good community. I just want to stay right nearby here. So I rented office space on Southwest Avenue for about a quarter of a century and decided, you know, this is such a good community, I think I better just buy some property here. So we rehabbed the building on East Avenue where the former doctors were, and took quite a while to do so. And we've expanded and expanded. This is my 5th home here now in town. This is a good community. Both of my sons graduated from Tallmadge. They started from kindergarten all the way up, and they're both doing well, very well. My older son's the vice president of the biggest annuity company in the country, so the Tallmadge has treated us very well. It's money well spent to put more money into our schools, even though I don't even have any grandchildren that go to this school. But it's just part of our community. Please, we need to keep this vibrant community, and the town has been so good to us. As you were told, we're celebrating our 50th year as a lawyer. So not only do I get with real estate taxes, the advantage owning property, you get to pay not only insurance, but you get to pay property taxes. So I get to pay it for both the law firm building as well as my home here in town. Please support the levy, and Tallmadge is going to be good to you, even if you don't have children in school like I no longer do, nor does my wife. But be good to the community and support the levies.
Thank you, Mr. Maguire. Really appreciate that. So we wanted to take a few minutes, and just kind of give you some highlights about some of the good things that are happening in school, around school, in town, and we appreciate that very much. But we also know that we want to hear from you. And I know that some of you that are here this evening are just the Tallmadge folk, and you're here because you have questions. We would love to hear your questions, and we have people here this evening that could probably give you the correct answer. So at this point in time, going back to the beginning of where I started, if you have a question, raise your hand, stand up when called on, and take a deep breath, and let's hear your question. So I'm asking, does anybody have a question they'd like to ask? I see a hand. Go ahead and stand up. Let's start with one.
Do you have any metrics on the breakdown of the 2,500 enrollment? Do you have any information about where things are going with the efforts to get rid of property taxes, as you know, that would impact?
Let's start with those.
Okay, I have a bunch more.
Too deep in the weeds. Of the folks that are here this evening, I'm going to turn around to you and ask about the metrics in the schools.
So, and I beg your pardon. So 2,500. So what do you mean by a breakdown of those students?
How many are at the elementary level?
Okay. Yeah, it's a almost, you know, straight across the board, right around 200 students per grade in Tallmadge. It's pretty straight line. We have about 175 in kindergarten right now, a little bit, and 180 or so in first grade. But we pretty quickly then climb to the 6th and 7th grade here are over 200 students. And then by the time you get to high school, maybe about 190 are graduating from Tallmadge right now. So it's a pretty even distribution across the grades. Yeah, so like a bubble that's come through, but when we're talking about a bubble, we're talking ranging from about 190 to 215 is bubbles. It's not 100 kids or anything like that. It's a range of about 10% maybe bubble, and that bubble's right in about 5th, 6th, and 7th grade right now. So, and then the property tax question. I don't know. We have some politicians here. I mean, from our standpoint, that was one of the reasons the board looked at doing less of a millage this time, is because there is so much uncertainty around property taxes in the state of Ohio. So, I mean, they've been talking about property taxes and being unconstitutional for how long now? I think 30 plus years there's been this discussion about property taxes. So, yeah, we're seeing that. I mean, the problem with that model is what replaces it, right? I mean, schools, I think Hawaii is the only state that doesn't depend on property taxes for schools. So it's property taxes is the model. I don't know. We'd have to look at what replaces that and what would work. We are not seeing substantial change. They've done some tweaking. There's a couple of the governor vetoed a number of things that were placed in the budget originally, but those are really tweaks to the fundamental system that we have. And what I can assure you is this, and knowing this board, any type, what is important to our board and our community is what we're spending per pupil, making sure that we're efficient and getting a good return for the taxpayer dollar. So if there is an upheaval in the way we tax in the state of Ohio, then we'll adjust accordingly. We're going to make sure our kids are served and our taxpayers aren't overtaxed. I can assure you of that.
Thank you for that question. A good follow-up question to that might be basically what might this levy cost us, actually? And I think, Mr. Davis, you might have a thought on that. I know you were talking about it earlier. Maybe you could share some of your thoughts.
Sure. So does anybody know what it's going to cost them? You did the math? Yeah, it's $16.67 per $100,000 per month of your appraised value on your property record card. So in Tallmadge, the average home is around $200,000, $230,000. So just to use even numbers, if it's $200,000 of appraised value, then it's going to be about $33 a month. So I took my son to Chick-fil-A. It was $22 for 2 of us today. So 3 people once a month, that's what it's going to cost us. Well, I can tell you that the Summit County reappraisals that we all saw, we thought they were going to go up 20, 30%, right? But Mr. Wood and I were on his computer this morning, and we were looking at several houses. And the good news is that even though the appraised value went up about 30%, the average home in Tallmadge was only going up about 5 to 6% of what we were paying towards the new reassessed values. I know others that have done the same thing. I used to own a ton of apartments back in the day. I did that multiple times. I know others in the room that are here today that have done the same thing and have gotten their values reassessed. And certainly you're right and you're allowed to do that, and it sounds like it worked. I understand. And as board members, it's our job to put it before the taxpayers, to put it before the voters. We of course feel that this is what's best for the district. As a homeowner, a business owner, this is what we feel is best for our community. So we put it before the voters, and it is now up to you. I understand. I do. I pay it more than that in my business taxes just to the schools. So I'm familiar. I'm with you. I understand. But as a parent and as a board member and a business owner, I feel like the schools are the backbone of our district. And I personally made 3 decisions in the last 15 years to stay here in Tallmadge to raise my kids here. So,
can you clarify the renewal levy, what the percentage is? I mean, it's not clear to me, what it's going to be. So,
yeah, it's called a renewal levy. It's not a new tax. It's a tax you're already paying. It was originally passed, I think, 15 or so years ago at 7.5 mils. It's presently collecting at 4.3 mils. It's a combination of a number of things. In addition to spreading it out across more taxpayers, there's also, as the home value increases, the millage declines to keep the amount collected the same for what it was originally passed. So, but it's a 4.3 mils is what it's collecting at right now. And again, it's not a new tax. It's a tax you're already paying. Yeah, it would stay. It would just basically stay the same way. That's exactly right, Hal. There's two levies. There's issue number 53 and issue number 54. There is a new money levy, which is this one, and then there's also a renewal. There's two levies on the ballot. A renewal, that's not a new tax, and then the new tax. That was our permanent improvement levy. So that's for maintaining our facilities. That was passed last November. I think it was 1 mil is what that collects at, or 1 or 1.5 mils. Yeah. It was a replacement. It was called, the term used was a replacement levy, yeah. Well, but you're only getting 5.7 new. 5.7 new is what, total. Yeah, I mean, well, it'd be 4.3 to keep collecting that one that's already being collected. 5.7 new money, additional funds is being asked for. That's the total amount on the levy, yes. But again, you're already, the 4.3 is already being collected. It's not new. For these two, voting yes on both these levies, yep. And our commitment remains staying below the state average in terms of spending per pupil. And so that's critical, and keeping Tallmadge an attractive community to raise a family. Both of them would be, yeah, both of them would be continuing levies, meaning there wouldn't be a time in the future. Yeah, yep.
So I have a question from a microphone shy person. So we've talked about what we're spending below state average per pupil. We've talked about the millage of how much we're going to collect. So if this doesn't pass, how does that impact each student or each building? So if you could talk about it from the elementary, middle, and high school level, or per student, like what is the impact going to be if this levy does not pass?
That's going to be another Mr. Wood. I just have you stand up.
So the reality is, if we don't pass these levies, we're going to quickly need to find over $3 million, because that's just the nature of inflation. So how do you find $3 million? It's increasing class sizes. It's reducing some of the programs we have for our kids, including extracurriculars at the high school level. It would be a substantial reduction to what we serve our kids. There would be busing, significant busing, transportation cuts. It would have a negative impact on our programming for sure. I haven't looked at it that closely, but we would drop, significantly down. I mean, I think, it would be, put us even further below that state average number.
Does that answer the question pretty much? I'll take that as a yes. Okay. Anybody else have a question? Hal?
If the levy doesn't pass, my assumption is we still send the same amount of money per student to charter schools and so forth. Is that true? I mean, we're funding charter school students, correct? I mean, every school district sends a certain amount of money along for those students, correct?
Doesn't quite work like that.
Okay.
I think that's a great question. I think it's a common question, state of Ohio. So charter schools. So number one, I will tell you that people that move to Tallmadge do not send their kids to charter schools. Usually, they keep their kids here. Parochial schools as well. So yes, so some parochial schools, we certainly have some folks that send their students to faith-based schools. It's still very small compared to comparable communities. Now what has happened is it doesn't directly come from Tallmadge taxpayers to send that money. It's the state is funding those students that are going to parochial schools. So that money is coming from the state. Now that's The other side of that is it's close to $1 billion that the state is now sending to parochial schools that we think should be coming to public schools, because the parochials get to pick who the kids they take. We don't, if you will. So they get to say no to some kids, and we don't have that choice. We serve every student. So, but it's close to $1 billion of state money. So that would be something you can talk to your legislators about, is how do we use that $1 billion to support the local taxpayer, because it is a greater burden on the local taxpayer. I hear you. The local taxpayer in Ohio is feeling it right now, and the state's not doing anything to help. In fact, you saw less state funding, and they're still spending $1 billion and sending it to private schools. So the state has the ability to give some relief to the local taxpayer, and they're not. From my perspective, I control what I can control, and what I can control is our cost per pupil, having outstanding programs for our kids, and keeping the Tallmadge community a community of choice. That's what we can control. And then we lobby our legislators too. We meet with our legislators pretty routinely. And actually, a representative from the governor's office was here tonight. She couldn't stay, but it was great to see her. So we'll keep pushing, because I hear you. I know it's hard. So we appreciate you.
Why do they not have cluster pickup stops at busing? I see them on a street, go 2 houses, pick up kid, go 2 houses, pick up a kid. Why is that?
I mean, in general, I would say that our ridership's pretty strong. So the cluster stopping would be nice in Tallmadge. That wouldn't really reduce our need for busing, right? It would just reduce the length of the runs. But all of our runs, we're blessed in Tallmadge with a very small town. It's still got that small town feel. So I think what you're seeing is a symptom of that, is people like to, have it right at their house. Now, at the kindergarten level, we can't do, that's by law, we've got to do a handoff there. There are some spots in the community where we do have cluster stops, depending on how the route is structured. But as far as busing and our efficiency, it's something we're proud of, as our routes, we fill our buses. You can look at our buses at the end of the day. We fill them, and our routes are pretty efficient. We try to get all of our kids within a half hour.
Anybody else? Yes. Yes.
On the chart for our spending, do you have any kind of overlay on what our proficiency scores are stacked up against the other schools that are shown up there?
I can get you that. The best is our state report card number, which actually the new number will come out in October, and I think it's going to be our strongest number ever. It's on a scale of up to 5, and we're going to be close to a 4.5 this time, which is the best score that we've ever had, and we've had our best scores ever in terms of early literacy and graduation rate, progress, so a lot of things. So when I look at that, you're going to look at, on that chart that I showed you, you're going to see folks that are going to range from 2.5 up to 5, like Hudson's a 5. They spend a lot more per student than we do, but they're a 5. We would be about a little bit in the middle to the higher part of that. I'm sorry? Well, but I'm hoping we will at least get a 4. We will at least get a 4. It's only in half increments. There's a chance for 4.5. I think it'll still be a 4 this year, which still puts us in the top 80% of the state and exceeds expectations. But that's a great idea. I think we were waiting until the new report card numbers come out right before Election Day, and we'll use that to share with the community where we are as a district. So what's going on with the federal funding and all this story about the Department of Education? It's a great question. So a couple things I would tell you. Number one, the Ohio Department of Education is a very strong department. So we have very little direct dependence on the federal government. In fact, the ODE, the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce now, really administers most of the federal programs for us. So we're not seeing those impacts. There was some funds that were withheld from us earlier this year that we were worried about, a lot of which were directly tied to our early literacy program, but all of those funds for this school year have been released, so we're in good shape for this school year. What it looks like in the future, I don't know. If you could predict what the federal government's going to do next, I can't. But what I would tell you is that us, from federal, we probably, total of our budget is maybe 10 to 12% of our total funding is from the federal government, which is not a little bit of money. It's $3 million for us. But we wouldn't be as directly impacted as some other states and some other schools with some of these funding cuts that may occur. Yeah, it was really part of that. Her question is about the state funding and why there's a significant reduction all of a sudden. And a lot of that, some of that was some additional COVID relief fund that the governor put out. But really what that spike down is all about is, first of all, this biennial budget. This governor does his budgets every 2 years. There's pretty significant cuts associated with it. And the other piece of it is the valuation that Tallmadge has seen. I mean, Tallmadge homes, 25, 30, 40% increases in valuations in Tallmadge. It's a very attractive community. And that, because of that significant bump, we're seeing a reduction in the amount the state will help us. So we're a community, not too long ago, again, like 40%. Like Tallmadge would be like 40%, and Hudson would be like 10%. Very little money because it's a high net worth community. Tallmadge, we don't want to be there. We don't want to be Hudson. But we are seeing that valuation jump, and you're seeing a little bit of that gap closing, and why there's a little bit less state funding coming to Tallmadge is because of the increase in value and the overall, the rising wealth in the city of Tallmadge.
Thank you. Anybody else? We're good? Hal?
I think I have to ask a question about school size. I heard Mr. Wood say about, if the levy is not approved, then it would increase class size possibly. I hear a lot of rumblings, and I think it's basically about next door in the elementary school about not enough room. My granddaughter, who's next door last year in 4th grade, she was in a room with 50 kids and 2 teachers. I have a feeling that was designed to be that way, but I'm just curious, are the schools sized properly, going forward?
I'll let you answer that.
That's a great question, Hal. We have some teachers here. They can tell you a little bit. Some of our elementary teachers are here as well. So number one, like all of our class sizes, we're at the elementary school, we keep our student-teacher ratio below 25. Okay, so that's a standard. That's a good, solid amount. We don't want to go any higher than that. So it's the right amount. We do have team teaching at Tallmadge Elementary School, so you do have situations where you have 2 teachers working with a larger classroom of kids. So that's just that is by design, to your point. Were the school buildings built to the right size? Absolutely. The demographics show that in general, population, especially student age population, is falling in the state of Ohio. I'll give you an example. Tallmadge High School, when it was built and opened in 2008, there was close to 1,100 students in that building. There are 800 students in that building now. So, and we see that here. I mean, I wish you could, and you're welcome, if anybody wants to come, and I'll give you a tour during the day. You can see what this facility looks like. Mr. Manion is our principal here. He could do it here at Tallmadge Elementary School. This building was designed for 600 kids. We're probably at, what, Jeff, 650-ish, 640, but it's the kids are spaced out. It's a good, good size. So from a size standpoint, again, we look at the demographics. We think we're a well-sized district right now, and we built these buildings in partnership with the state of Ohio. The state of Ohio paid almost 25% the cost of these new buildings, Part of the deal with them was based on they didn't want us to overbuild them and make them too big. So we feel confident with the sizing. So that's a great question. Yeah, there's a company called DeYoung Healy. You can look them up. They're like the standard for the state of Ohio. DeYoung Healy does these demographic studies, and it's pretty amazing. I mean, the dynamic, and I think I've seen it when I was growing. I mean, I graduated from high school a long time ago, 40 years ago. So, and I had neighbors that had 6 kids, right? And you had people, typically people were moving out of their houses when they reached into their 60s, moving into retirement communities, et cetera. What are you seeing now? I mean, number one, you're not seeing the 6-kid families anymore. So families are deciding to have many less kids in general. The other thing, and it's big in Tallmadge, people love living in Tallmadge, and they move here and they stay here forever. They're not moving when they're 60. They're here. There is plenty of great people in this community that are 80, 90 years old still living in their homes. There's just not the turnover in housing. So because of that two things, there was just a lot more turnover back in the day, and there was bigger families back in the day, and that's why Tallmadge at one point had over 3,000 kids. I think we're at 2,500 now, and I really don't see us growing beyond that because of that dynamic. Well, yeah, so the question is really around the new families that have moved into Tallmadge, a lot of immigrant families. It's a great question, and we have, it's been an awesome addition to our school population, I would tell you. So, we have, probably close to 300 students now that English is their second language. It quickly has become their first language, frankly. Their families might be their second language for their families, but it's the first language. English is now the first language for those kids. So we've seen that growth. That's part of the growth. I think that's the only reason we're at 2,500. I think we'd be less than that if we didn't have some of those new families joining us. And from my perspective, actually, one of the biggest risks I have as a superintendent, and we have for our programs, is too few kids in Tallmadge. And there was a risk. There was a time about 10 years ago. My predecessor, Mr. Ferguson, was very, very worried about that, because the less kids you have, the less electives you can offer, the less the state funding gets tangly. There's a lot of reasons. So I think what we've seen in Tallmadge, from my perspective, and it's backed up by DeYoung Healy, is a very healthy growth and healthy, stable spot for Tallmadge, including the addition of families from all around the world.
Hey folks, Chad Davis, Tallmadge City Schools Board of Education and Citizens for Tallmadge Schools Levy Committee member. Just want to do a quick video to show you how to find what it's going to cost you on your property taxes if the new levy passes, or should I say when the new levy passes. Just to confirm those numbers, we can go over to yestalmadgeschools.org, and under the levy details page, we can see that it is going to be $1,667 per $100,000 of appraised value. So that's really the main number you need to know, is the $1,667 per 100,000. And then you would go over to the Summit County Fiscal Office, which is fiscaloffice.summitoh.net. You should see Kristen Scalise up here, and go down to the Real Estate tab, Property Tax and Appraisal. Click that first one, Property Tax and Appraisal. Click Agree, and then you're going to put in an address. So we'll just use my business address here, 358 Commerce. And I'll show you a little error. If we put in 44278, for some reason it doesn't show up. It says no records found. But if we remove the zip code, it works just fine. So this is a property here in Tallmadge, 358 Commerce Street. And the main thing that you need to know on this page is your value. You need to know what the appraised value is. So the appraised value here is $318,610. And we would just bring in a calculator. And the quick way of doing this would be to say the $318,610, divide that by $100,000, and we get 3.18, because we need to times that by the 1667, which is times 16.67, and that's what it's going to cost this business per month for the additional taxes, $53.11. Now, the average home in Tallmadge is about $220,000, so you could do that at 220 of appraised value, divide that by $100,000, and we get 2.2 times 16.67, and $36.67 per month is what it's going to cost the average home here in Tallmadge for the new levy. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us.
I think we're good. A lot of questions were asked, a lot of things were discussed tonight, and I really do appreciate you having the patience to kind of hang with us. I'd like to kind of wrap this up and just say, on behalf of the Tallmadge City School Board, some of the members are here this evening, on behalf of the Citizens for Tallmadge Schools Committee, who was behind in supporting the new levy information going out into the community, on behalf of the folks that stood up here tonight and told you their story. Really do appreciate it. Really want to reach out and say thank you so much. If you have additional questions that you were uncomfortable asking, by all means, go to the Tallmadge City website. There you can find Mr. Wood's email. You can find any of the school board emails, and we will answer your questions. We'll meet with you for coffee. Whatever you want to do, we'll take care of it for you as well as we possibly can. And on behalf of that, again, thank you for coming out tonight. We really do appreciate everything, and thank you. Drive safe going home.